Hi there, and welcome back to another edition of Scale Up Radio, the podcast inspired by the entrepreneurial scale up system and designed to making navigating our scale up journeys that little bit easier by learning from each other's experiences. I'm Granger Forson, and on this episode of the show, I'm joined by Wesley Birch of Birch Catering and the Ship In Pub. Today, we're exploring team building, quality service, and strategic business growth. To ensure you don't miss out on any inspirational future episodes, do subscribe to Scale Up Radio wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. Also, you can nominate a guest for Scale Up Radio if you know someone with an interesting scale-up journey. You can find out how in the show notes. So, let's now dive into the inspiring journey of culinary excellence, quality focus, leadership, and a 3-week waiting list for lunch with Wesley Birch. So, hello, Wesley Birch. Welcome to Scale Up Radio. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
My name is Wesley Birch. I'm the Managing Director of Birch Catering Limited and the Ship In at Brimscombe.
So, two businesses. Tell us about both of them first. What do they do? How do you delight your customers?
Well, first of all, Birch Catering. We've had that since 2012. So, yeah, catering for events, weddings, celebrations, parties, occasionally a funeral. And that's really our sort of main core business. And alongside that, we have the Ship In at Brimscombe, which is a pub. And we've had that since 2021. So we were crazy enough to take on a pub pretty much in the thick of the pandemic.
Yes, an interesting time to take on that. So let's talk about the catering business first. Describe, catering, okay, to events, to weddings, to parties. Okay, what type? What type of clients do you cater for? Is there any specific types that you do? Take us through who your clients are and how you delight them.
So it varies really. I think when we first started out, we were mainly catering for dinner parties. So, before I'd even registered a company online and, got an email address and a website and things like that, it'd be word of mouth. People would be asking me to do dinner parties and can you cater for this? My daughter's having a birthday. Can you knock up a buffet next weekend and things like that? And at the time I was working for a catering company nearby. And sadly they sort of folded around the same time. So I sort of saw a hole in the market there to take on catering events. And then once we'd registered the business, we were then able to sort of go gung-ho at loads of different events. So we then got into weddings, which is basically the cream of the crop. Weddings are the sort of events that you really want in the diary. Large numbers, up to 250 occasionally, and it can be as low as 50, but so we cater for those, and we cater all over the Cotswolds and the surrounding areas. We used to go to London a little bit, but we tried to stop that because it's just such a pain in the bum getting into London and getting out again. So, but yeah, the clients all vary, age groups vary, and again, we've catered for, a few of the royals and celebrities and things like that. So, it really varies. Some people have a small budget, some people have a high budget, but yeah, the one thing we do is we try and find what works for our clients and create a package based around their wants and wishes.
And how big a business is the catering company now? You started back in 2012.
So 2012, yeah, just me working from, my uncle's kitchen in his house because he had a glorious kitchen. So I started prepping there, and he had the luxury of having 2 fridges, so he kindly lent me one in the garage. And so yeah, it was just me to begin with. And then now the catering, I think we employ around 35 people on the books at the moment, but in the summer, with waiting agencies and things like that, it's up to 70 people in the summer. So yeah, a mixture of part-time and full-time as well. Not all full-time because I'd be a lot grayer than I am now. But
so the core team, the sort of full-timers.
Yes. So a lot of them are the people that I worked with back in the day at Williams Kitchen and Calcott Manor. We sort of banded back together since that all dissolved, and I started Birch Catering. But my team are incredible. The people that, I'm lucky that they are some of my best friends, as well as, people that help us. And I always say that people work with me. Nobody ever works for me. We try and operate a business in the way that we all work together, and, we all discuss things, especially the core team in the kitchen. So we've got, I think 7 chefs in the catering, and all full time. There's KPs, and then there's a couple of managers as well in there. So yeah, we've got a nice big catering unit. We all have a meeting and sort of discuss where we're going. And on top of that, we've got event managers as well. So people that run events for us, and people that provide staff for us. So, and people that provide all the cutlery, crockery. So there's a massive network of people that we speak to and who we work with.
So you set out creating a business around catering because one's folded. You've now got up to 35 people working with you. So what keeps bringing people back? Okay, and weddings are one-off type events, but what is it do you think makes you different that allows you to create the business size that you have?
I think the main thing is it was always word of mouth. That always carried a lot of weight in this area. You tend to get one wedding on the back of the last one. So for us, and years ago when we all worked together, we had an enormous sense of pride about what we were doing. We worked incredibly long hours, and we were exhausted, but we had a lot of fun with it as well. It's a really unsociable. They say it's an unsociable trade and unsociable hours, and it is, but it's a very sociable trade. So actually what we did is we've now created a team, and we really enjoy what we do and how we do it. And, and I think that shows in the quality of what we serve. We've got an incredible track record, all based on my solid team and what they can do. And so, yeah, what we do is every time we cater, it's always to the best of our abilities. And especially, sometimes there are tighter budgets, especially with everything, I don't want to bang that drum about prices going up and things like that. It has made it harder for us to achieve the quality that we do. But again, we just talk to the clients, we try and find what works for them, match, the ideas, and sort of tailor the packages and be realistic about what we can do and achieve. And I think that works. And people also appreciate the honesty of what we've got. And, they look at their track record and reviews and things like that. You don't really get too many reviews in catering, but the ones that we do have and the feedback we've got in the past, and all the thank you emails and things like that, it's really lovely to show our future clients these things, and it gives them confidence. Brilliant.
So the ship in the pub, how's that? Where have you got to with that business so far?
So we've had the pub for, I just put a post up the other day. We've had the pub we had the keys 3 years ago, and the pub has been an incredible success story from us. I think, I've had my eye on this pub for nearly 20 years. And, I've said to a lot of people, if I wanted a pub, it'd be the Ship Inn at Brimscombe. And they always said to me, why the Ship Inn at Brimscombe? What's different about that pub? And I don't know what it was. And it just, I don't know, maybe I just knew it was in a good location, had a good sized car park, a really good, strong, lovely community around it. That is the foundation for a pub. Every village or community should have a church, shop, and a pub. I think they're the things that, and a school if it's big enough. But the pub, we got the keys. It wasn't in the best condition. The council owned it, and they'd done a tenant in for a year, and he'd done a little bit of work to it. But before that, it'd been owned for years by the brewery, and they just, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about breweries, but they are, in my opinion, strangling the life out of pubs in the country. So we got in here after it had been owned by a brewery for so long, and I knew it needed a pretty penny spending on it. So, during COVID, we didn't have any catering on. So I had a full team at my disposal. So all the chefs were painting and putting the garden in and things like that. So it took about 6 weeks. And finally, once we were ready to go, we opened the doors. And we've been, I think pretty much fully booked since we opened the doors 3 years ago. And I think there's about a 2-week waiting list now to get into the pub, especially for Sunday roast. If you want a Sunday roast, book 3 weeks in advance now. Even I can't get a table in here.
And is it part of the same crew from the catering industry that is a pub, or are they totally different? How do you manage the two?
Yeah, well, it started off because after COVID, once we had the team, and we still weren't allowed to do events back then, so it was the core team from the catering that were doing the majority of sort of a lot of things. So the tidying up, the cooking, we didn't have to employ any additional kitchen porters and things like that. So the whole team was looked after. We recruited a few other people as well. So, during COVID, we lost a couple of members of staff, but we recruited a few new people for the pub. And then once events were the ban was lifted and we were allowed to get back out in the field again, we had to recruit a few more chefs and things like that. So, yeah, we've just, it's grown in a really nice organic way. So, we've never been overwhelmed with it. We started off as we meant to go on, and yeah, it's worked really well like that.
And you recruited chefs for the pub, so do they, rather than the catering industry business? What?
Yeah, so the chefs that worked on the events and the catering, once the catering kicked off, yeah, and we were allowed to get back out there, they went back into the field and started doing the events and the weddings and things from our other unit. We didn't prep it at the pub; it's a completely separate business. But then we employed new chefs in the pub. Again, chefs that two of them we've worked with in the past. We used to hire them before COVID, and then we were in a position where we could take them back on. They left before COVID happened. It wasn't a case we got rid of any staff. We retained as many staff as we could during that period. But yeah, so once we needed chefs in other areas, we look at the calendar and see what's going on, and we're always well ahead of the game, and we know what events is coming up and things. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how I'd survive without a wall planner.
A giant wall planner. I mean, just explore a little bit about, from other discussions I've had with hospitality owners, the chef is really key. It's hiring a chef. You made it sound really easy.
No, I said to you earlier, we are incredibly lucky. We've worked with some amazing people. I'm friends with some amazing people, and we now get to work with these amazing people. So it's the whole ethos of our business really is based around the team, and I think investing in good people was always the key to the success of our business. And it takes you a while to discover these things, but finding these chefs and the people I've worked with before, and their strengths and the fields that they want to be in, and making your business sort of work around that as well. It's about filling the diary and paying the wages, yes, but equally it's about creating a work environment that you want to work in and that you enjoy. So, also our chefs, we really try not to ask too much from them. I know a lot of chefs work, and I used to work 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, but we try to create an environment now the going's good, finally, that we've got a nice balance. So everybody gets paid well, everybody can work the hours. I mean, don't get me wrong, this time of year, we've got 30 weddings this month, so there's a fair chunk of overtime coming at the end of this month. But the brilliant thing about my team as well, they're incredibly understanding. They know catering, they know what it's about. In the quieter months, they go on holiday, they take it easy. In the busy months, they're in there. And I try to create a good work-life balance for all the team, but I'm just as bad as the rest of them. We are slightly addicted to what we do and how we do it. That huge sense of pride in the team and what we achieve, and people giving us a thumbs up and a pat on the back. I always say we're not precious and we're just servants, but we're chefs. And in some places people think they're rock stars, but we try and keep a level head, and nobody, I always say nobody's got an ego in my team. We all work together. Nobody has a title either. There's none of this sort of hierarchy. We all just work together, and it just works.
I think what you're picking up there, I mean, one of the phrases I use is growing people. Yeah, and if we build a business that grows people, that gives them the inspiration to become better than they are, to find that passion to be, I mean, slightly addictive to everything that you do. You called it investing in people. I think you found something really interesting there, because actually that is what the key essence of a scaling business is about. It's about people. Yeah, products and services, absolutely, that's what we sell. But actually, the whole thing that binds that together is your people. And I can definitely see that in you. What in your background, where does that come from you, Wesley? Where does that inspiration of people come from, do you think?
I think a few things. I'm the oldest sibling of four, so I'm sort of naturally a little bit more paternal maybe. So I like looking after people. I get a huge sense of joy from making sure people are happy. And I also had a really, really terrible experience in my first job. It wasn't in chefing or in the hospitality industry, but I was very young and I was really badly bullied in the work environment. And I remember thinking, just carrying that on with me, still to this day. And I just think, I always wanted to create a working environment that I would want to work in. So that's really where it came from. It just, work, and especially so many people I've heard along the way, all for years, that they say they don't enjoy their job and, they're trapped in their job. And, I've never, there are some days I've woken up and gone, my back is killing me. I'm suddenly getting to that age where I do wake up now and I go, God, my feet are killing me. And I wish I had a comfier pair of shoes to work in. But actually for the entire time of my career, working 18-hour days, I woke up in the morning, some days a bit hungover maybe, but, I loved what I did. I was really energetic, really ambitious, and just, I've been so lucky in the working environments I've had since that terrible experience that I've actually learned from other people as well, how people should be treated. And, and looking up to some of the people like William from William's Kitchen, I trained under him for a long time. And he's an old school chef, and, how he did things, he was quite strict about things, but what you learned from him, he was really assuring, like he was a great father figure for us as chefs, and how he nurtured us, and he trained us. It was a little bit of tough love, but he was brilliant. So everything he showed you and what he installed in you was just quality. And that's another thing, that I took from that. So treating people well, creating a good work environment, and pushing people to achieve the quality that, you're always aiming for the next level. So you need people to be on board with you if that's what you're aiming for.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting you use the word tough love, but actually we only really grow as human beings if we're challenged, and we're somehow, people have lost that flavor of challenge and that next exciting thing. We seem to think we want a comfortable life, an easy life, but actually that leads to boredom and lethargy. But it's hard to get people to understand that actually challenges are really great. But when you start to open that up in people, you create that challenge. So, you're talking about tough love and the learning you had from that chef. And actually that's that challenge that's coming through. So you talk about within your team that you have a big meeting, you talk about everything, and have a structure to that, which I'll explore in a minute. But how do you create the challenging environment then, do you think, that allows people to go a little bit further to achieve better quality, whatever that is? I'm interested.
Well, I was just speaking to my colleague earlier, and like she said, especially during the pandemic, we have always adapted our business to suit, the current market and what we're aiming for. So, just because predominantly we do weddings and events, the difficulty we have there is it's a very seasonal business, April till October. And then you've got 6 months of the year that you want to retain these members of staff with, and you want to keep them going. So you have to try and find new things all the time to pay the wages, but keep people occupied and also keep people employed. But finding the next level is, again, it's about being competitive with your, you do have competitors out there as well. What we do isn't, we're not the best caterers on the planet, hand on heart, but what we do is we are very good at what we do. And I think especially with Instagram and social media, people know what to look for now in food, and they have expectations. I think that's probably the key word there. You're constantly aiming higher because people's expectations are higher.
People's expectations are growing. Yes, very true. Yeah, and they'll pick that up, which drives you forwards. So you've created a team. Take us through some of the dynamics of how the interactions work. So you what meeting structures do you take place? How do you manage interactions between the different teams? Take us through some of the structure and the dynamics within your successful business.
Yeah, I suppose I'll start with the catering first. A lot of the chefs, like I said, we've worked together for a long time. We all know what we're doing. So really, there's not too much we need to discuss. Like, those guys are seasoned pros. They are, and hand on heart, most of them are better than I am at catering. So I sort of try and leave them to it because they are the real experts. However, once a week, we have a meeting in the office. We run through the sheets, for example, for the jobs that weekend. So allergies are a big thing as well now in this industry. We need to make sure that, all the chefs know exactly what's going on. The office staff are relaying the information that they need. Things are organized, like the kit that the chefs need, if they need a certain size plate or they, need any additional cooking utensils for that week. So every week there's a meeting. We have a meeting once a month with the sort of managers and we discuss how things are going. We do discuss budgets and things like that, and that's a horrible, horrible one to discuss, but we're all tied to budgets. So we talk about that and where we're going, how things are and ordering. And it's pretty much as simple as that on the catering. And that's it. We sort of leave them alone and let them do what they're doing. I jump in there when they need me now. So I'm a little bit all over the place. I sort of work between the pub, catering, a few other bits and bobs. But yeah, the catering, if they need a pair of hands or they need me to do anything or even going shopping sometimes, they're straight on the phone. So that's my involvement with them. But the pub, I work a little bit more in the pub. It's still a relatively new business and there's a lot of expectation there as well with how well we've done so far. So I like to stay on top of it. And again, the biggest thing is keeping staff happy and making sure everything works. So I have a meeting with the head chef, just a little coffee every now and again, just to make sure he's happy, what's going on. And then my wife, she started to have one-to-ones with the front of house staff now, totally private and not discussed with me either. It's between her and the staff, just in case any issues arise, any sort of grumbles in the camp and things, because I always like to deal with a problem before it becomes a problem. So yeah, she sort of deals with that. And equally, once a month, we have a meeting together on a Sunday. I try and do a little pep talk. So first of all, I'll pick up on things that I'm really happy about. I always start off on a good note. I think that's better. So we discuss, I'm truthful with them. I talk about the turnover. I talk about, customer reviews, what I'm really happy about, what's gone on, what's happening, and where we're going. Then after that, I talk about things that I'd like to address. I never say I'm not happy about something, because if there's something to that state, that sort of importance, you deal with it there and then. But after that, I talk about things that I'd like to work on, where we can address, where we can be better. So again, once a month, even with the pub staff, and I call them kids, but they're all sort of 17, 18 years old. Kids to me now. But yeah, I talk to them and I try and encourage them. I listen to what they say and ideas they've got. And I've always said to everybody, this business isn't just for me. It's not my business. This is all of our businesses. I get paid a salary from this business, the same as anybody else. The only difference is my name's above the door. So I like to listen to ideas and listen to what people have. And, I'm a big fan of you don't know what you don't know. So.
Well, what you've just walked us through, it's an absolute blueprint for business. Now I can see why you've been successful with what you've done. We're talking about clear communication and having that interaction with people and listening to them. And communication isn't about telling. Communication is about listening and about helping them achieve what they need to do. Building up one-to-ones and doing that regularly so people can see those things, building that alignment about what the future is, where we are today, where we want to go to, how well are we doing, what's not quite working, where can we fix things, and asking the team to think about how they're going to do that. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. And I love the fact that you say, I have a salary in the business, my name may be over the door, but actually we're all part of the business. So I think that's a real focus that you have brought to the business that allows it to be the business themselves rather than it's you trying to manage it all. Wow, brilliant. So just a few sort of bits and pieces. How do you go about hiring people for the catering business as you're growing? What any hints or tips or things not to do from things that have gone wrong?
Well, what not to do, we'll start with that, is I've never agreed in poaching staff from other businesses. It has always been very difficult to hire good people. And the worst thing to do is poach staff from other businesses. By all means, put an advert out like you would normally. And if they approach you, then I believe that's fair game then. But, I never poach staff from other businesses. But again, it's sort of we've always hired people like a friend of a friend. So, one of the chefs at work, one of the head chefs in the catering, Marius, he used to work with a young lad called Charlie. And last year we needed somebody else on board. And Charlie just messaged me and said, you did speak to me a while ago. Is this position still available? And there was a bit of a position, but immediately I thought I can make a full-time role for you because he is worth having on board. He's an asset and he's a really lovely lad. So I thought that would be a great way of bringing him in. So yeah, it's with the chefs, it's sort of like that. And I think I've never really hired anybody new to heart. I've always sort of known them and I've always been in this area. So if they've worked in this area or with anybody, the chances are, I sort of know them or I know their friend. So, I've always been able to judge, characters that way. So, but with front of house and things like that, again, it's just people we've worked with. They've either worked for an agency that we've used or, and then they've said, look, we like what you do. It's only way we can get involved with you a little bit more. The other day I went to an event and, somebody said, oh, you're Birch Catering. And I said, yeah. She said, I've done a couple of jobs for you, but I work for this other agency. Is there any chance I could get on your books and do a bit of private stuff for you? And, the agency wasn't one that we used. So I said, yeah, absolutely, if that's the case. And, ping us a message on social media and we'll get back to you. So, yeah, it's sort of, I'm very lucky. I haven't actually had to advertise for staff for quite some time. And occasionally we get emails from people asking us if there's a position available within the company, which is incredible. And I think it's really lovely to see that because clearly there's a message going out there that we are, we're a good employer. We look after people.
And what you've just described, people approaching you, is actually the sign of an excellent employer. I know a few businesses, they go, wow, we're really lucky with staff because people, as you've used that statement, they come and find us. Actually, that isn't luck. That's actually the environment you've created. People can see that. People are attracted to that. And that's exactly what you've done. So, congratulations there. That's absolutely awesome. So, okay, two businesses, lots to do, lots going on all the time. How do you, ensure the right things are getting done?
I think, like we just discussed, I think the main thing really is communication is the key. Investing in the good people, allowing them to sort of do what they do best, and then communicating with them. So, I have to jump in every now and again and oversee things because occasionally you get sort of a few niggles every now and again, and it's good to squash them straight away. So, but generally, it's about the people that you invest in, and watching what they do and the communication. Like my phone is glued to me 24/7, and if it wasn't for this business, I would definitely throw that phone in the river. But I am on that phone, and it is all about business. The staff message me, and I'm not HR, but the staff can message me, and I always like to reach out to them as well. If there's, if they've got a few personal things going on, bits and bobs like that, I always make sure that I am contactable 24/7 for them. So just having those people there to do that just means that the business is as successful as it is, really. So yeah, I still have to oversee things, but not to any great extent anymore. It's for the first time in nearly 13 years, it's actually lovely to be in this position where I can actually just take a breath now, and I can look at the people that I work with and just be incredibly proud of what they've achieved.
Brilliant. I think you've just summed it up there. You're so proud of what they've achieved, not what you've achieved. So, and that's the sign of it as an awesome leader. I mean, so, you trying to find clients. So what marketing strategies do work for you guys?
Well, I think the pub's just on its own, really. It's sort of the social media game's strong. The guys there do a good job with that. So just word of mouth and being in an area and doing a good job. So that's quite, well, nothing's ever easy, but it's easier. The catering's a little bit more complex. So in order to get new catering clients in for the following year, we have to, social media is key for everything. It's a massive tool for advertising now. But again, we need to be in venues. So years ago, people would have weddings in marquees everywhere, and that's sort of calmed down a little bit recently. So a lot of these wedding venues nearby, they're really busy. So it's been key for us to get in with some of these venues, and they provide the whole package then. So they have the venue that you go to, and then they often have a list of caterers. So we'll be one of four. So, and we always try and offer something a little bit different. But again, tasting sessions are a thing now. So years ago, we never did tasting sessions, and now everybody expects a tasting session, which makes sense actually, knowing what you're getting. And it's a way of sort of installing confidence in the people. They're giving you a lot of money. It's not cheap to get married. So you really want to do the best for them and show them that you're the people for the job. So yeah, tasting sessions are key. And again, word of mouth is probably still or somebody that's been to a wedding that we've catered at, that's still probably our best lead to get in the next wedding or event.
And word of mouth comes from quality, which you talked about earlier on being one of the key things to drive. And quality isn't just what you do today. Quality is also, you talked about, improving for tomorrow. So yeah, and that's how word of mouth happens. So the industry that you're in, what drives you crazy about the industry? If I could give you a magic wand and you could change one thing, what would you wave your magic wand over?
The industry, I think it's sort of a fascinating, chaotic world, hospitality. It's incredibly difficult to get it right. And, I haven't got it right all the time. We've made some dreadful errors along the way. But what drives me mad is, I don't know, I'm always inspired by everything. I'm always a cup half full. Nothing really drives me mad. If there's something that I'm not into, I don't see, I don't really turn my attention to it. Maybe I'm just a little bit narrow-minded, but I always look for the positives in everything. And especially in hospitality, I'm incredibly proud about the industry I work in. And I'm blessed that I've had a really wonderful career. So yeah, I think people, maybe the whole Gordon Ramsay screaming and shouting thing, that's probably something that's up there for me. I just think if you enjoy what you do, why are you that angry about it? I understand you've got accolades and, investors and there's stress, but, one thing for me, I always thrived on stress. I just devoured it. It sort of fed me, and I enjoyed being really busy. But with that, you don't really take a step back and look at your business. So it's fine if you're a chef, but if you own a business, it's so important to step back and actually look at a lot more things other than just what you're plating up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Enjoying being busy and using that as a challenge to drive you forward. So, Wesley, let's meet in 5 years' time. Let's have a cup of coffee, in the bar, reflect on the last 5 years. So what's happened both professionally and personally for you to make the 5 years successful?
In 5 years' time, I would obviously still love the love and support of my wife. That's a massive thing. And my kids. If they went to bed without being told 10 times, that'd be nice. But yeah, in our business, we've got a few things in the pipeline. I'd love to have another freehold pub. We have been looking for a couple of years, but it's got to be the right one for us. We've since the pandemic, we've gone in the right direction. It's really important to find the next project but it has to be right for us. So I think, and freehold, because again, that's just investing in the security of the future of my family and my team. So that's a big project for us. And I think, again, maybe another couple of little bits alongside that, because the wedding industry has always been thick and fast, and it's always been, relatively lucrative. But I have a sneaky suspicion in their future that, perhaps that might calm down slightly. I think people, think everything's more expensive now, and people get on the property ladder, and maybe weddings won't be their priority in the future or as much. So I think having a few things running alongside the catering just means we're safeguarding ourselves, and we're actually keeping our thumbs in various pies rather than just in one. Or is it the eggs in the basket? That's the one, isn't it? All the eggs in the one basket.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I mean, Wesley, what an amazing conversation. You wouldn't believe we've been talking for nearly 40 minutes, but, wow. How do I summarize what I've written down here? I've got so many notes. So building a business, for me, for what I've learned from you, you've gone in 2012. Yeah, you're in your uncle's garage or kitchen, and you've built now a business of 35 people. But it's about the team. So it's about inspiring the team. It's about having that great communication. It's about employing the right people that you've met in your journey through life, and finding those right people where you can go, they'll get on and do what they need to do, those A-star people. But actually, what you've also talked about is you need them to grow within your organization as well, and the development and the focus and the energy that you give to them to allow them to be successful, allow them to grow and develop is really key. It's about giving them that alignment and that focus that you've talked about doing things. It's about taking those challenges, taking on a pub and saying, how do we all work together to make this achievement happen? It's about then finding the next people to help that growth taking place, and you keep coming back to the word quality, and I think that growth of word of mouth comes from quality when you focus on quality, on excellence. But what I loved about your focus on quality is quality isn't just today. We've got to make the quality better because our marketplace is always expanding. People expect that level of quality today, so tomorrow they need something better. And that real attention to detail and that passion that you have. And finally, I love that, 24/7, my people, I'm there for my people. My phone is with me all the time, and they can contact me if they wish to. And I think that's the real truth here, is your real passion for developing people, for people to be successful in your organization. That's why you've been so successful. So thank you so much for this conversation. We always finish with a quick fire round, if we may.
Yep.
So if you went back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, my days. It would be it's easy to say now, and I said before about, stepping back and looking at things, but the amount of stress I put myself under when we first began for the first 7 years. And, I'd work 18 hours a day, see my wife for 1 hour of the day, and I just wasn't there physically, emotionally, mentally. And, we missed out on a huge amount of time. So I think the main thing is, for me, would be take a step back, try and lower the stress levels.
Brilliant. Any books that you read and you'd recommend?
I'm terrible. I've never been a strong reader, to be fair. Cookbooks before Instagram and things, I read every cookbook on the planet. So yeah, go out there and buy a good cookbook.
Brilliant. Do you have any time to listen to podcasts? If you do you recommend any?
Yeah, I do, a few. And there's, a few of the funny ones, but funny enough, a couple of guys I went to school with, they've started up a podcast in the Midlands called Bottled Up Blokes, and that's really interesting.
Awesome. Onto your mobile phone then, which is glued to you 24/7. Any apps on there that make a difference for you?
Oh, the obvious is, I hate to say it, but Instagram is massive, and, finding dishes, recipes, inspiration, sharing dishes, other people, events, how they do things. So it's a really incredible tool to sort of see what other people are doing and inspire us as well.
Thank you. That's an interesting one. So I'll definitely have to jump more onto my Instagram. My favourite question of all, who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
As a business leader, two people. My uncle, who's, he's a big influence in my life. He's, the reason why I'm in hospitality and cooking. He's never been a chef, but he's a great cook. So, and he still mentors me today. He's got a business as well nearby, and he's had businesses since he was in his mid-20s. And he teaches, and he has taught me a lot in the past. And my wife as well. She's the one that sort of keeps me grounded. That's for sure.
Brilliant. And then finally, how can people get hold of you?
So again, contact via social media or the catering. The best one is the email, info@birchcatering.com. Very clear.
Brilliant. Wesley, thank you so much for a fantastic conversation today.
No, thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.